Hello guys, finally a board game video again. This is a short unbagging of Pitt's War, and in the end I give you my first impressions on the game. So, Pitt's War is the game inside Paper Wars magazine issue 92, spring 2019, which is the in-house wargame magazine of Compass Games. The game and the magazine come in a folio bag, so you could also call it a folio game if you wanted to. I've already took the counters out of the counter sheet and I've already clipped them. An issue that I have with all Compass games I have so far, which are not too many, but see this very flimsy counter sheet, and the die cutter is not great actually, so you have to take a sharp cutter and cut all the cuts and around the counters carefully so you won't damage them while punching them out. So here we have the counters. These are all the counters, mostly unit counters. So we have French units, British units, Austrians, minor powers, Ottoman Empire, Spanish units, Russians, the Prussians, control markers and turn markers and out of supply markers. And which is core of this game, or one of the core mechanics of this game, these event sheets. One for the coalition player, one for the French player. These are organized by 3-year phases, and after those 3 years you're gonna add additional counters into your counter pool, from which you will draw each turn a specific amount of counters blindly. And you can use them for various things, like getting additional recruitment points, getting dire modifiers in battles, for special operations, let's say, or expeditions. For example, the French Egypt expedition under Napoleon. So Pitt's War, 1792 to 1815, struggle for Europe. Game design is by Stanislas Thomas, and the map design or map art is by Christophe Gentil-Perret. And Players of Napoleon Against Europe, which I actually also own but haven't played yet, will be familiar with this map. Maybe I can show you a little, like north of France here, Flanders, northern Germany, British Islands, Prussia, Poland, and parts of Russia here. So it's the same, basically the same system, and what you also have is the turn track with the years and special events and units that come into play, or leaders, generals that come into play, and so on and so on. As we are talking about the map, I like the style of map. It's an area control, or no, it's not an area impulse, but area control game, and terrain is really abstracted, so these sand colored areas are clear, and then you have the mountains, which are impassable. Only via passes you can move through the mountains. You have like fortresses here, Gibraltar, and harbors, and so on. I like that a lot. What I don't like much about this map are these tables. The turn track or turn table and special unit placement table. I think these like very light gray, a little bit darker gray colors, they do not fit. They do not fit the artwork, the beautiful map. I think that's a missed opportunity. So, magazine, Paper Wars, we won't go through it. So if you want to know what's in the magazine, you have to get it. These are the rules. Pitt's War, Paper Wars. Again, designed and developed by Stanislas Thomas, who is the designer of Napoleon against Europe, and Nations in Arms, by the way. And yeah, there is one issue with this designer. I will get to in a few seconds. So again, map art Christophe Gentil-Perret, counter art is Knut Grünitz, and then some playtesters, of course, and Games LLC 2019. The rules are starting at page 23, and they go to 42. So not too many rules, and most of this rulebook is like with charts here, so no additional player aids, but charts and tables as part of the rulebook. Then we have explanations for the event chits, and quite some. You can play basically 3 scenarios in this game, which is the Grand Campaign, so from 1792 to 1815 through the whole of the French Revolution and the Napoleonic Wars, so all the wars of the coalition. Or you could play Liberty or Death, 1792 to 1800, like the first phase, the French Revolution phase, so to say, and then the Grand Empire, 1805 to 1815, the Napoleonic phase, so to say, if you like to play shorter scenarios. So these put aside, the rules actually go up to page 31. Again, not too many rules, which is fine. There are no illustrations, which is a shame, but as this is a magazine game, I totally get it. And again, in regard to the counter sheet, I get why you would use such a flimsy counter sheet in a magazine game. I get that, but I have, as I said, other Compass games which use the same wibbly wobbly mess. Once you have cut these counters, it's fine, it's okay. They are so small that it doesn't make any difference, you know. But getting them out of this counter sheet is actually a pain, considering the nice laser cutters and things we have today. So now in this game you have supply, you have battles which are organized comparing the odds of your steps you have in each army, and each step is about 2 divisions, I believe. And then you have various modifiers like tactics and leader bonuses for attack or defense, or cavalry superiority, and as I said, events which grant you some die roll modifiers and terrain and all those good things you expect from a war game. Then there are movement and activation rules, so leaders are important to activate, and especially to stack more than 3 steps in an area. In the beginning you draw random events, then you have diplomacy phase, where possibly you could, or potentially you could, try to force kind of, or influence a neutral major or minor power, and as the effect of a war, or let's say a peace treaty, you can also force alliances and such things, which is really great. Now to the problems I mentioned in regard to design and development Stanislas Thomas. I don't want to insult him in any way. That's not my intention. But there is a problem when the designer of a game is also his own developer. That's not great. Let's put it that way. And with Stanislas Thomas, we actually experienced this immensely with Nations in Arms, which had in its first iteration a really horrible rule book. I'm not sure if he was designer and developer on this one alone or if there was another developer, but this game could have used additional 2 eyes in regard of not rules layout, but there are from time to time terms swapping that actually are describing the same, but things get confused or are confusing if different terms are used for the same thing. And yeah, some parts are very imprecise, so you have to guess what's meant there. And the game really misses a player aid, a sequence of player aid, or at least they could have added that as one page, like this painting. Get rid of this painting, put it on the back instead, and put a nice condensed sequence of play with all the possible actions here. So what I will do is probably just do one sequence of player aid for myself, and one with the tables and such. Yeah, there are some nice layouts on Board Game Geek regarding these explanations of random events. That's cool. Probably I will print them as well. So especially if you're playing against somebody, this is a 2-player game, and there are chits that kind of block chits of or events of the other side and so on. Yeah, and now you have to share one rulebook and go back and forth, and then again back to the tables and such. That's not fun to play. But again, I get why in a magazine game you want to try to keep it short. Some missed potential here, in my opinion. But yeah, especially regarding that's the same designer as Nations in Arms, where the event shit poll mechanic comes from, and Napoleon against Europe, where all the other mechanics come from. One might think that probably this is a condensed version of the best of both. It is a fun game, I believe. So I've played it once. These are my very initial impressions here, but I think it's fun. A turn can get quite long because of a good weather impulse, alternating activations, and then a bad weather impulse activations for both players. So especially if at a point where many of the big nations of Europe are involved in the coalition, it could become a bit tedious. I'm not sure. Maybe we will try this without the bad weather phase, and instead, like when we roll on movement points or on the battle chart or so on, we will just roll a die and see whether we have nice or bad weather or something. That might speed up the game a bit. So again, it was our first play, but I believe we played like 4 hours and got to 1794 probably. So actually 3 turns. Yeah, but it's great. It's amazing that there finally is a game covering the whole of the Coalition Wars, the whole period, 1792 to 1815. I must say, that's the last thing for today, I must say I hate that all those Napoleonic games start 1801 or 1805. I don't get it. Why not include the revolution too? So, last words for today. Hope you enjoyed my initial impressions of the game, and see you soon. I'm thinking about using this game in a video series. I haven't recorded gameplay or board game gameplay videos in a while, and I want to come back to them, and I have something in mind that includes combining various games to create a great narrative of the Coalition Wars, and yeah, we will see whether and when that will happen, but I hope you are looking forward to it. See you soon, guys.